Good afternoon, everybody. So I realize I'm standing between you and lunch. Maybe you're taking your lunch now. Please go ahead. I cannot see that. Yeah. Enjoy your lunch. I'll try to talk slowly, so yeah, you can eat and listen at the same time, right? So I'm here to talk a little bit about the PCP program, or Professional Conversion Program for the Digital Product Management. Right, so a little bit of myself. So I'm the practice chief in charge of the digital products and platform practice. Over here, you can see some of the courses I'm teaching. Two of them are actually in this PCP. So I'm here to talk about that, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is what I wear for our costume party here at ISS. You want to join us sometime to enjoy that as well. All right, if you've been with ISS for a while, you know that we are in continuing education. And there are actually a lot of paths, right, to bring you to your dream job, right? It could be the master's program, certification, and this PCP is basically the green path that you see here is one of the paths that will bring you to the job that you want, right? So as you may have heard, right, this PCP program is actually a conversion program for PMEs, right? Professionals, managers, executives, technicians, or including mid-career switchers, right? So you can undergo skill conversion and allow you to move into new occupation or areas, right? In new jobs, right? Okay. So the place and train program actually requires that you be hired by a participating employer before you can take part in the program. Of course, there are some flexibility around the area. I will talk a little bit about that. And this talk is specifically focused on the digital product management people, which could be a team of people taking care of the digital product, right? Okay, so for the employer to qualify, the company must be registered or incorporated in Singapore, committed to work with us and with WSG admin matters, right? Because money is involved. And then to offer employment, employ a PMEs, a product manager, basically at a market rate, and then commit to release this person for the training, okay, and then provide a project, which is the 4-month project for the project practicum that I'll talk about. The new hire should be a Singapore citizen, right, or a PR, completed NS if he has a need to, right, and not be in a similar job function prior to joining the PCP. So you could be a project manager and now you want to be a product manager, and basically that will qualify you for the program. Okay, and there's some entrance assessment. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, yeah. So the first step will be matching the employer with the participant, right? So this is the selection process. We will meet, they will interview, right? Or the company has just hired somebody that will qualify in the program as well. And then basically then they submit the details of what they plan to do, and as well as a project plan. This is referring basically to the practicum that we talk about, the 4-month practicum we talk about later, right? Once everything is cleared, then the participant will basically go through the training, right? This is a total of 14.7 days of training, right? Why 0.7? I'll talk about that later when we go into the courses. And during this period, you will be back to school, right? You will be doing workshops in class, right? And then readings at home, and maybe some homework as well, right? And then this could take over like 2 to 3 months. And then at the end of that, the employee goes back to the office and do the project that has been proposed in the company, mentored by somebody from the company and guided by the ISS advisors, right? Okay, when everything is done, then we have successfully transitioned somebody into a new role, okay? Yeah, so there's a bit of an entrance assessment. We don't really have a test at this point. Yeah, it's more like to evaluate whether you are suitable for the role of what we call the product manager. So this person has to be somebody who can handle a bit of ambiguity, because we are trying to build something that is not there yet, able to work across the organization and bring different organization teams together so that the product can be developed, can be strategized, can be released and launched and supported, right? So that it can be successful, right? So you have to bring all the different parts of your organization, like the Marcom, the development engineering team, the customer support people, right? And of course, representatives of the customer as well, right? Okay. Then after that, they undergo the training, right? Once it has been approved. This 14.7 days of training is spread over 2 to 3 months. Later on, when we look at the courses, some of these courses involve some prep work, right? So you come once a week, right? So we will schedule these classes one after the other one. So you may take about 2 to 3 months just to complete the training, okay? Key requirements that you must complete at least minimum 75% attendance for each of the courses and pass all the classroom assessment, which include the workshops, right, where you work in teams and you may be required to give individual submissions, right? Okay, pass all that, right? One course after the next course and so on and so forth, right? And then when you go back to the company, the 4-month on-the-job training project that is with the sponsoring company, yeah, with your company, right? Okay. You are required to make at least 3 presentations, right? At the beginning, when you propose the project, you have to check that it is the right type of project, and then basically check your progress along the way. You have got the plans in place, and after your validation and check everything of that, right? Once successful, you get a professional diploma certification from NUS-ISS, right? Okay, so there are many of these programs, PCP programs, right? The one I'm basically focused on is the one on the digital product management. So in this particular PCP, we focus on equipping, right, the participant with customer insights. This could be internal customer, it could be external customer for the possible products that need to be built. The products could be systems in-house, or it could be a system used to support the taking care of the customers. It could be an app or, for example, an e-commerce website, right? Then basically find solutions, right, to solve the customer, the market problem, and then look at the business case for the new product development, whether it's worthwhile investing and so on and so forth, right? Once you have cleared the investment decision, then basically you look at the strategy of how you're going to develop and launch it, how you're going to target the customers, get them on board, right? Get your 100,000 customers, next 100,000 customers, acquire all the different segments and so on, and then basically manage the product through the life cycle, right? And then improving and enhancing the product, right? And we will also touch on how you may build a platform business, right? Earlier on, my colleague Felicitas and our guest from Carousel was actually talking about the platform business. We see this is going to be the future of all the digital economies, right? Okay, and the job roles will be quite varied, right? It could include digital product managers, marketing people, e-commerce, website managers, yeah, all those roles, right? Let me talk a little bit about the job and the kind of jobs that is supported by the program. Now, there are many, many definitions of digital transformation. I like these simple ones that you see on the screen. It is about integrating of all this digital technology. This could be IoT, it could be AI, it could be your chatbots, and then all this digital technology, and of course data, which is the wonderful stuff we have been talking about all day, into all areas of your business. So fundamentally changing how you basically operate, right? So it impact your operations and how you deliver value to customers, right? And the more value you deliver, the more customers will come to you, right? Okay. So digital transformation will result in a lot of building up of what we call products such as these mobile apps, right? Where you want to engage your customers, right? So if you have a credit card, the bank will want you to install an app on your phone, right? Where they'll give you promotions, talk about the latest things you have. You want your customers to open that app often so you can see the promotions that are there and maybe buy some more, right? And sales can improve, customer experience can improve through the mobile app, right? Or it could be a website, right? That you bring your customers to look at your products, right? Or it could be an e-commerce engine where you can buy stuff, right? Trade, right? Okay, like Carousel case, right? Trade, right? Okay, or maybe build a digital platform, okay? Or in the process of having omni-channels, touching your customers, allowing them to come back and feedback to you through the multiple channels. As a result, you get good experience, deliver a consistent experience, right? Okay, even designing a game, right? My wife, they were playing this game on Shopee, right? when you play the game and then you get some points and then you get some discounts and then you can go and buy some more, right? So basically all these initiatives involve developing of products, right? So the people who will need to manage that have the strategy behind their mindset when they think about building this stuff, manage it, right? Oversee its development as a technical team, develop it, oversee its launch, check the results, pivot, change direction, add features, change features, and so on and so forth, right? Now, even if you are dealing with a traditional product, right? We are talking about, like, say, a gadget, maybe the projectors, cameras, and stuff like that, right? Maybe we're talking about apparels, right? Fashion is definitely a lot of what we call social selling happening there. Or maybe just containers like Tupperwares. My colleagues are eating out of boxes now, their lunch and so on. These are traditional products, but could benefit from digital channels, right? Digital marketing and the digital strategy. Then basically we need new skills, right, to look after these traditional products as well. So that could, the jobs involved in that are part of the scope of this PCP as well. And not only that, right, as part of digital transformation, a lot of projects were actually being spin off, right? They built new systems. Just now Wiki was talking about a recommended system that say, that accurately pinpoint what a customer would want to have, right? And then they will buy more because of that. This building of these recommended systems, right? They are not exactly an app. It could be a news app, new recommended system and so on, based on accurate data you now have of the customer online, the digital identity and the digital demographics of the customer. Or it could be the royalty program that you want to deliver digitally, right? Okay. You're doing social selling, right? What I talk about is social media, it features your products, and that is where you want to have an advertisement, have a point, a click where they can go straight and buy the stuff that are being talked about in the social media forum, and so on and so forth, right? Digital promotions, and maybe just simple email campaigns. They are basically supported by lots of new systems that need to be built, right? Or the digital customer service that Wiki was talking about, right? So all this building of new system basically spins off a lot of projects, right? Okay, and these projects affect the way brands and organizations interact with the customers, build loyalty, right? Build good experiences, right? So we need people to look after all these projects and the system that's been delivered. And these projects are best delivered using a product management framework, okay, as opposed to a project management framework. Have you heard of the difference between the two, right? Okay, so basically in the project management framework, you're focused on the timeline I have to deliver, the things I promise, the scope, as well as the budget. And once I'm done, well, great job, I move on to the next project, right? Traditional ways of building systems, right? IT systems and so on and so forth. But a lot of these digital systems that we're building to support the digital transformation is best managed by a product management framework, which is at a higher level than the project management framework. So you think about the business outcomes. You don't just think about timeline, budget, and what features you're going to deliver, but you think about how many of my customers have signed up. Some customers have put things into the cart but didn't buy. Some customers have looked at it and didn't buy. And you have to add features, go back and talk to these customers, somehow relook at the advertisement, give a discount maybe. So basically, there's a lot of changes, adding of value. So after a product, a system is launched, the things need to be improved, right? Even if you are talking about an app on the phone, you give a $5 discount, finally the customer took the bait, installed it onto his phone. Is he going to keep opening the app, right? And if you're not adding value to the customer, very often you will find that, oh, I haven't used this for a long time. It just uninstall you from the phone, right? So the product management will think about the outcomes, think about the customer journeys, think about how to improve, adding value, changing the features, value-added features, and so on and so forth, right? So that's why greatly encourage to use a product management framework to manage all these projects, right? Okay. So the roles involved, right, very, very varied. Sometimes we call them product managers, digital product managers. We call them marketers, product marketing managers, and sometimes it's just program managers involved in basically all this digital transformation or customer programs who are actually overseeing a lot of the strategy, the building, and so on and so forth, right? Okay. And this job role is very suitable for those with some experience, right? So if you have some team management experience, like previously, you may be a project manager, a business analyst, or maybe a traditional product manager or a sales manager, marketing manager, but now need to add that digital element into all those things that you're doing, your prior experience counts in this job role, right? Versus some where you have to start at the bottom again, right? So this transformation is easier. It takes into consideration of some of the good working experience you may have previously, right? Right, so this is the PCP pathway, right? A lot of questions probably you want to ask is centered on this 4-month company project, right? So this project has to cover, right, aspects of digital product management, okay? This project needs to involve, for example, either you discover or find a need for a new product or platform idea, right? Remember, it could be a project, right? It could be a system you're building, right? Supporting some customer initiatives and so on, right? So a project is also possible, and you work through the product requirements, understand the value, right? There may be pricing involved, right? And you build a roadmap and so on and so forth. As long as you can demonstrate some of this, right? Then basically that project will qualify. Okay, so it could be a project from the company. It could be enhancing an existing product or platform that you have with a new idea, a relaunch with new features, a new initiative, a new strategy. Then those all qualify for the project. So not too difficult, right? Now I'm going to go next into that 14.7 days, right? What exactly are being covered? Basically, we are covering 4 modules here. If you have been with us since morning, some of my colleagues already talked through some of this. So I will next to talk about these 4 modules and what do they cover, right? Okay. Now these modules are carefully curated, right? So as to equip you with the key knowledge for you to succeed in your role as digital product managers, right? Okay. So they are tailored for adult learners with hands-on interactive learning, a lot of experience sharing, a lot of case studies. Some of these you have to read before class even, right? And they come into in-depth discussions, and then we see why certain products work, why certain products fail, right? Okay, so suitable for the job roles like product manager, platform managers, and so on and so forth, right? So the first course is actually service design, right? My colleague Vicky, yeah, just before me, right, actually talked some parts about this course, right? Basically, it's thinking about user design thinking, right? And yeah, and then how to basically do the research and do the prototyping and so on. Right. Once you have the idea for the project or the product, then the next course, managing digital products, provide the product management framework where you carry this idea bound to the business case, right? Where you have to decide whether it is a worthwhile investment, and then after that into the strategy, the positioning, the competitive analysis in the landscape, scoping, right? And pricing. And then the strategy basically to launch this and to acquire the customers, right? And the support for the product, right? And then of course the product support and so on and so forth, right? And the next course on the digital product strategy, this one is basically going very deep into the cases, right? Okay, and to analyze some of these cases, examples. It may involve big cases like Amazon, Grab, startup like Carousel, and so on and so forth. And DBS as well, basically talked about in those cases. And the last one, architecting platform as a business, is basically talking about how do you start a platform business, and a little bit on the architecture side, how you can have the architecture to support the business as you desire so that it can be successful, right? Things that Felicitas was talking about in the session before Wiki, right? And then of course, the practicum and the project, okay? All right, let's go to the first course, service design, right? So this is design thinking, right? Things that Wiki was talking about. It is actually an outside-in perspective, right? Okay, and try to understand the process and then look at where improvements can be made, right? Okay, and then you do extensive user research and then to understand the customer journeys and stuff like that, the personas, and then mapping this into blueprinting and storytelling and so on to understand what it is. And then come up with the value proposition. Okay, at the end of this was a fun part where they actually do some low fidelity prototyping. You can see some pictures of the fun they were having on the course. There was one course where actually they go out to Harbourfront and talk to customers. Now a little bit, you probably have to wear a mask, right? And see how they feel about this new product idea and whether they like it or not. So get real customers and the input of that, okay? And then come back and then refine the process, right? So the design thinking process normally starts with defining what is this challenge. Maybe it's a customer pain point, maybe it's some problem with internal customers, some slowness, some productivity that can be improved, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, then they go into the human-centered research. This is basically doing all the personas, doing all the customer journey to understand where the problems is, and then how it can be improved, right? And the next stage in the creative ideation is to come up with ideas on how to improve on the issue and the problem defined. It could be an opportunity, or it could be a problem, right? And to choose the most easiest or the most valuable idea, right? And then you implement into some kind of low fidelity prototype and then test it out in the market where you get real customers to come, look at it, and then give feedback, right? Okay, so the design thinking process, right? Okay. So a little bit small, no worries, right? But this is basically a service design tool set. They look at the analytics, they do interviews, they do shadowing of the customers, do eye tracking to see where the customers are clicking and so on and so forth, right? And to understand these are all part of the human-centric research, right? And then there are other research methods, right? Like the focus groups, the eye tracking, the diary studies, and the analytics, and of course the ethnographical kind of a research as well, right? They will help you, give you information and so that you know what is happening, right? Okay, and then this is a part of the prototyping. You look, the one was actually a cruise ship, okay? Thinking through the process, customer journey of them getting onto the cruise and getting off the cruise and so on and so forth, right? It could be an app, it could involve some kind of a drawing of the design of the screens, right? So have an idea of how the flow will be like, so you can test out with the customers, right? And the one on the right is actually a robot, right? So he dressed out like the robot and basically test out with real customers how things, whether this will solve the problem, the challenge that was defined, right? And then these are the implementation tools. They do service blueprinting, basically laid out clearly how things are being done, what to watch out for, and so on. Also document some of these things through how and how diagrams, and then stakeholder mapping to make sure all the stakeholders have been catered for, their needs and expectations and so on, right? Okay, then the next course, right? From the previous course, what we call the service design and the design thinking, you come up with the idea for improvement through a project or a product. Then this course brings you to the product management framework, right? Okay, so this is a practical course with a lot of interaction, workshops and so on, right? Bringing you through the whole process from the birth to the cradle of the product, right? Okay, we will focus on the digital world especially, right? And of course, then leveraging data, agility, user experience design, and then experimentation, right? The key areas of the course. Okay, equip you so that you can be a product manager, right? Your products will be customer-centric, okay? And the processes are agile, right? Okay, this is ISS Digital Product Management Framework, right? So this course will bring you through most parts of this diagram from the customer problem, opportunity definition, and down to competitive intelligence, and then choose the segments of the market you may want to execute over, and then do the financial analysis and come up with the business case. Is it worthwhile investing or not, right? Passing that, you go to the positioning against your competition, adjust your portfolio, and then the decision of how to price your products, right? Okay, even freemium is actually a pricing mechanism. Let me give it free, right? And then basically the go-to-market strategy, how you acquire your first segment, first 100,000 customers, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, now product planning and product development, the next two pillars, right? And in fact, the next three pillars, right? The next talk, my colleague Zan and Liang Chu will talk some parts of this, like the product support and so on. This is the part where as you define the vision, you go down to understand the requirements, defining them, right? Managing them, and then think about the releases that we executed to the roadmap, okay? And then the process, how you oversee the engineering team. So to make sure that the features that develop is what your USP, your strategy has defined. Make sure the customer experience is good. the validation part, and if there's a need to pivot, change direction, evolve, and so on, that's part of the product evolution on the fourth pillar, right? And after you launch, before launch, we actually talk a little bit about the marketing part of the product management. This group, the value messaging, the advertisements, they need to come through to basically show off the USP, right? Okay, and the product support, right? And the performance measurement. So a lot of data is weaving. So along the way, you can track, you understand how your customers are using your product, where you can improve and so on. All the time supported by the foundation at the bottom, right? That involve the innovation, the talent, and the team management, and the stakeholders, right? Orchestration to make sure all those people can come together and build a product, right? All right, so once you're done with the foundation course, then we move on to the digital product strategy course. So this is an interesting course. This is a course where you have the 0.7 days, right? The last 0.7 days is actually the part where you just tune up the final strategy and present to an industry panel, right? These are really people from the industry who are actual product managers. Some of them are angel funding, have money to fund your ideas, right? So to basically give you feedback and so on and so forth. So this course is what we call a flipped classroom, very little theory, but basically it's about the cases that they study, that they go very deep into to apply what we have learned from the foundation course, right? Okay, so it takes care of the digital product ecosystem, go through the product life cycle, through the different cases, you understand that, so you can acquire the skill to come up with the strategy and so on and so forth for the product, right? So this course actually done over 4 weeks. You meet only once a week, yeah? Well, of course, lots of reading and homework in between. The first week, they basically look at the digital landscape, right? We have a practitioner coming in and talk about that, where opportunities can be. And then the second half of the day, that is when the team come out with idea and pitch to the rest of their classmates to join their team, right? Okay. So at the end of the first day, they are now in teams, right? Supporting some new product ideas they're going to bring through. They will come up with the vision, right? These are presented, feedback are given, and then they go back and work on it. And the second week, they come back and they look at the go-to-market strategy. Okay, so this is a part where they actually analyze what will be the cost involved, right? What will be the revenue I can bring in? Revenue could also be the tangible benefits if you are not a profit-driven company, right? Government and so on and so forth. That involves looking at the cost, where the money can flow in and so on and so forth, right? So the analysis is actually done. They also look at the strategy of how to launch it, how to capture the different segments in your market, right? For example, the carousel example that was shared earlier on, right? They start with the NUS students selling secondhand books, right? And then they go to the blog shops. They look for the people who are looking at clothing and so on and so forth, right? So they capture one segment by another segment and so on. So we look at all the different cases, products that fail, products that are successful, and then we see how they are being launched and so on and so forth. And they come up with the GTM strategy at the end, okay? They present, we give them feedback, and the third week, then basically they're looking at product growth. This is basically after launch, what are things you need to look at to grow your market even more so you can reach a stable state, right? Okay, have economies of scale and so on. How you build customer loyalty, how you can continue to engage your customer so your customer will be an ambassador for you, and then basically to grow, extend your product, right up to the planning for end of product, right? Okay. Right. So at the end, they will present. Again, we give feedback, they go back and work on it. And the last week is when they finally do the final presentation to the industry panel, right? A little bit like American Idol, right? And then the industry panel, each of them will tell, yes, I will fund your project or not, right? Based on all the things that have been presented. Okay, you learn a lot from the cases as well as the industry people and the things that have been taught in the class, right? Okay. Now, then the third course, this one will be very focused on the things that Felicitas was sharing 2 sessions earlier this morning about how you come up with a new business model involved in a platform, right? Okay, so again, this is meeting 1 day a week, right? So it's 4 days over 4 weeks again, right? So this is 4 full days, so it's not 3.7 days, right? Okay, So you have a hand of understanding how exactly a platform business, how to model some examples, look at all the value adding, the people involved, the stakeholders involved, right? The producers, the consumers, and so on. Okay, along supported by all the workshops. Okay, and of course free reading so that you can start straight on the day when you join the course, right? So you get to understand the role you can play in the platform. You can be the orchestrator, you can be the producer, and then basically how you can play all these different roles, right? And be productive and profitable, right? Again, and then you get your hands in designing one of these platforms, okay? And there's also a bit of architecture, right? Talk about how you can make sure this platform work, right? According to your strategy and so on. You look at key enablers, okay, that will make your platform successful. Things like governance, trust, and brand. Earlier, Su Ling, right? Su Ling from Carousel was actually talking about this, right? Okay. So week one is about the platform business, what exactly it is, right? Analyzing, understanding the roles, right? And workshop on profiling some of these ecosystems, right? And platforms. And then basically week two, you come back and look at the engines of growth, right? Okay. Okay, and you look at what can be measured and so on and so forth. The customer experience, the user experience, how payment can be done, and you look at monetization as well, right? Okay, the third we look at the technology behind the platform, right? So you can take the speed, take the load, take the maximum number of people on board, and so on and so forth. So those considerations, and then the week four is about the different challenges you have, how to tackle them, and so on. And then they do the presentation to the panel, right? Now come to the dollars, right? So the digital product management, you see the gross fees over there, the net fee, and then the mid-career enhancement subsidies and SME. So if you are an SME, if your employer is an SME, or you are above 40 years old, that is when you're entitled to the mid-career advance subsidies, right? So you pay the 2,000 plus figure over there. And there's salary support beside the cost fee. There's 70% support, right? And then if you are Singaporean over 40 years old or from an SME, then the support actually goes up, right? Okay. Yeah. So how about the dates, right? So we are planning for an intake on the 31st of August. And then after that, another one in December. Based on demand, we may have to add more. So just watch out on our website for the launch, and then you can sign up there, right? Okay. Any questions so far? All right, so I see some questions here. Okay. Oh, there's a question, basically asking, can this be done for those with an existing company, right? So yes, it can be done. So the process is a little bit more tricky because it's not a new hire. So basically the company need to undertake some pledges, that this is really a new transformation of this person into a new job role, not doing the existing job role, and that the current job role may be gone, right? So yes, right. Second question, is it more for people in between jobs? Yes, it's basically for people to transform from the existing job area into a new job area. We're talking about the digital product managers, right? So basically you join this program and then you go through training, and then then basically you will then be equipped for the new role that you have. Okay, another question, right? About segment management using digital tech tools incorporated in the past. Do I still qualify for this PCP? So this person is involved in some segment management using some tools. So is he qualified for this PCP? Yes, as long as the current job is not the same as your old job, right? And requires some new skills and experience. So if you're now managing, not just doing segmentation, but you're managing, for example, now the launch of this new product, so is strategy plus overseeing the development team, then if there are new scope to that new job, yes, it basically can cover you, right? All right, so there's a question about B2C. They tend to hire youth who understand the customer segment, age between 20 to 40. So are PMEs eligible? Okay, yeah. So basically the product management role are not the one that are just doing the customer advocacy, right? Just about understanding customer. But he has to be some people with some experience, able to bring different stakeholders together, right? You have marketing, you have engineering, you have customer service and so on, bring these different parts of your organization together. Yeah. So it is not for somebody fresh out of school can do, right? So you need some experience, right? Being able to manage people, manage team, being able to work in a little bit of what we call informal power, right? You don't have direct authority over this team because you're cross-functional, right? So that's why this job role would be better for somebody with some experience. Right? So unlike some of the other job roles, you don't have to start at the bottom after learning the new skills because some of your prior experience working with people, working with team, working with cross-function groups will matter in this job, right? So it will probably be actually good, right? Okay. Let me see this. Okay. Yeah. Any websites to refer for more details? You could go to our ISS website, right? Look for the PCP programs, and all the PCP programs are actually under there, and the digital product management is one of them. Okay. All right. Let me look. Okay, there's a question. If I'm currently not newly employed, can the NUS-ISS offer matching new partnership companies? Who are these? Okay, so the program actually requires you is actually a transformation of a job role, right? So you need to be hired by a company, right? Okay, and if you're not newly hired, right? If you're newly hired means up to like maybe 3 months, right? If you're not newly hired, then you have to prove that this is actually a new job role that you can do, right? Employers actually come to us and ask for talent, right? And so as well as employees are trying to sign up. So we can be the one to help you to match. We have career fairs that you can attend, right? Where you come and meet your prospective employers, and then after that, they go into interviews, and then the matching may be a success because of that. Yeah. So some of these companies, yes, we actually have some SMEs, for example, have expressed interest in some of these job roles, right? So we will share more of you when you sign up. Okay. Right. Is the marketing manager for an app company eligible for digital product management PCP? Current role focus on marketing. So if your current role is focusing on marketing, right, but actually you're doing digital marketing as well. So what is this new role going to do that is going to be very different from that? So that part has to be evaluated. So the best thing to do is come and talk to us, right? Okay. Okay. Ken was asking, is this program suitable for fresh graduate people with no prior working experience? Yeah. So if you have some prior working experience, it will be good because if in bigger product organizations, right, you have to bring all these functional groups to work together. But at the same time, in some startup and SMEs, they actually are a lot more smaller setup, right? So the development team is sitting among us and so on. They will accept a younger person as well, right? Okay, but we're looking at somebody with the right mentality and attitude, then you could qualify as well. Okay. Okay, so the DPS course project, is it different from the employee contract, employee project? Yes. So each course itself, right, you may do some workshops and so on. So this could be an idea that you propose along with your teammates, and then that is done in the workshop itself. Now, the 4-month contract with the employer, this is actually a real project from your employer. Okay, right? So that one has to be real, right? So where else the one in DPS is, it could be an idea that you have for a startup that you can use and then basically get all the planning and ideas done up so that you're ready for the launch, right? Okay. Does this program lead to a certification? Yes. So if you look at the slides, right? Let me go back a little bit. Oh, I cannot move on the side anymore. Never mind. Yeah, basically it results in the professional diploma. Okay, at the end of the program. Okay, yeah. What percentage of the fee will be sponsored by the company, right? Oh, yeah. Okay, it's like the one was about, yeah, does it lead to a certification, right? Okay, so basically, yeah, it's wow, all the way up. Okay, sorry. Oh, yeah, here, the professional diploma, right, in digital product management. Okay, just a little bit more time. Now, there's a question of what happens if I don't have an employer? Can I join this program to try to convert into this new role that we are doing? Unfortunately, PCP requires you to have an employer. Okay, but we have a parallel program. Under the FAQ section, right? Let me just flip. Now I have to flip all the way to the back. There is a parallel program which involves the same modules and has a similar project. Okay. The funding level for the courses is almost the same, except there is no salary support portion. Okay. Because, the one question number 3, the graduate cert in designing, managing products and platforms. This is a parallel program, same modules, and you also have a practicum project at the end where we try to find a sponsor company for you to do the project. Okay. The funding is a little bit less than the PCP. Yeah, but this is something that probably you can try to take on and before you actually look for change job, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I got to choose the questions because just a little bit more time that I have. Can these modules be stacked to qualify into a master's degree as a follow-up? What options on the master's are there? So this graduate cert in designing and managing digital products and platforms, what we call the DPMM, this graduate cert can be stacked into the Masters of Technology Software Engineering. Okay, it's one of the elective certificates, right? So you can go and look at our stackable. There's some core certificate. This DPMM is actually one of the core certificates that you can use to stack towards your master's, right? So you can get a master's if you work on for another 2 more certificates or so, right? I used to be a bank product manager. Are you eligible to sign up for this program? Yes. I assume in your bank, you're probably doing some products like credit cards, probably, yeah? So currently, you're going to be a digital product manager. Let's say, for example, you join SME, where you are actually building, let's say, an app, right? Right, so it's a different kind of products, and you have all these digital elements being added, right? So, and if the employer, you match your employer, then you qualify, right? Okay. Who should I write to for further follow-up? ISS, or that's my email, or any other alternative program managers. You can write to the career service. They are the one who actually take care of the registration. But if you can't find that, you can write to me. I will forward you to my colleague as well. Okay. Can we choose the next PCP intake or the digital product manager on 1st December? Yes, you can choose either one of them, right? Okay. All right, so there's this question about the criteria, right? Not in a similar role previously. We benefit project manager when equipped with the digital part. So this question is, he used to be a project manager. Can he now take on this PCP and become a product manager? Yes, because the product manager and the project manager's role are quite different, right? So the project manager takes care of, let's say if you are working in the project is taking care of the development part, looking at the timeline and so on. Whereas the product manager have to look at a much bigger picture, look at the business outcome, look at the launch strategy, look at the pricing and so on. So it is suitable, yeah? So, yeah. Okay, there's this question about product owner role. Okay, they were saying that part of their job is product management. How to convince employees that this is the case versus someone straight out of the uni with 3 years in the startup and done only a product management. So, yeah, I have a few minutes left, right? So let me try to answer this, right? Now, for the product management role, actually is quite a broad spectrum, right? If you think about big organizations like Amazon, they actually have many, many product managers underneath them, right? So the more junior one can be the more technical, what we call the archetype kind of a product manager, right? Whereas the more senior one with business acumen, for example, can be more at the strategy level, right? And then those who are very with customer experience or customer service kind of a mentality can do the UX part, the user experience part. So basically the role is very diverse, right? So depending on which kind of organization, you can be managing only a small team or you can be managing multiple teams of people orchestrating this part of the ecosystem and platform, as my colleague Fel has talked about previously. Okay, I think I've answered most of the questions, right? Yeah, right. Okay, that's it, right? Thank you so much for your time. I hope you can enjoy your rest of the afternoon with us. In the afternoon, we have another session. My colleague will talk a little bit about the product support and basically the delivery side of stuff, right? Okay, thank you so much. Please stay with us for the rest of the afternoon. Have an enjoyable evening.